Deven Choksey as well joins in on the show right now. Deven, hi, afternoon. Good to have you on the show. I guess all eyes on Vodafone Idea, what the quantum of the fundraise is going to be, whether it's going to suffice for the large debt on their books, and more importantly, whether the promoter entity or the government is going to participate.
Yeah, Aisha, good afternoon. Well, I think that's a big question. I think who will participate? Uh, as such, I think the Vodafone has written off this investment as far as India is concerned from their books. Government continues to hold the dominant share, and I think that is where probably I think we are likely to see some amount of participation coming in from government side. Uh, as such, I think currently the debt is about 2.25 lakh crore in the books of Vodafone Idea, and that's a huge, significant sum of money. At this juncture, as we lead the business, I think it's a make or break situation. Unless you infuse new funds and create the business for the next generation, I don't think that I think this business will continue for a longer period of time. The more important aspect about the creating the broadband network, I think through the employment of the fibers. I guess I think that is something which is a big time missing at this point of time in Vodafone Idea. So how exactly they will pump in new funds, how exactly I think this expansion activity would take place, capitalization takes place. I think it will be an interesting play to watch out for. So I think one will have to look at I think what exactly the outcome from the board meeting is, and then probably take a further call on the subject.
Situation it might be, but I wonder how much can they raise to make sure that the debt that they have on the books, which is over 2 lakh crore rupees, is serviced. So that's the big game. The stock is at the lowest point of the trading session, is seeing a cut of almost 6%. In fact, however, having said that, for rest of the markets, we have seen quite a bit of recovery. In fact, Nifty has recovered almost 150 points off the session lows. The Bank Nifty is up almost 250 points from the session lows, and a lot of individual names are actually doing quite well, with Tata Motors now leading the charts with a gain of almost 3% on that one. But Deven, I also wanted your view regarding the entire QSR space, and this week it has been marred by that entire commentary that came in from the Maharashtra FDA as well, talking about how they're likely to do more surveys and tests on the global fast food chains to maintain the food quality as well, and we'll play that bite shortly as well. But within this, do you think these stocks are actually providing a buying opportunity, whether a Restaurant Brands Asia, a Devyani, a Westlife?
So I think each of these companies have one good thing about the businesses. They continue to attract the new customers, and as we see the larger number of professional employed customers, at the same time, I think more amount of students. I would think that I think the business continues to do well for this QSR format, and I believe that I think that will probably be order of the day. Like if you look at the places like Japan, where people end up eating more outside food than home food. Similarly, the situation is strongly emerging now in some of the larger cities where the people are professionally employed into different activities, and as a result of which, I think the for sourcing of food or for food requirements, I think they would depend on this kind of a format. So I guess I think the opportunity-wise, the size of the market is quite big. I think undoubtedly so. And if the quality parameters, the check that we are talking about, is that gets in, then probably I think the confidence level of the people I think will remain relatively on a higher side. So hopefully I think things are moving in that direction. Maybe I think some of these companies are showing larger amount of growth opportunity, and that is where probably one would buy them whenever I think market gives opportunity on a corrected price levels.
See, once it is came to our notice and we have given some orders which were complied. So now our whole department in the leadership of our minister, Sri Dharmarao Atram, we are going to have once again to check all the outlets of all the food joints, including McDonald's and other chains also, and we will see that whether they are strictly adhering to the standards given by the food safety standards of India.
Okay, that's the Mumbai FTA commissioner talking about, most companies, or rather the need for companies to maintain healthy food standards. In the meantime, look out for Vodafone Idea, because that's slipping really, really fast. It's now down about 6% as we speak right now. So it's taken quite a bit of tumble. There's, of course, the metals pack also, which is under pressure. And then, of course, HDFC Bank, the underperformance continues. It's just barely, I think, holding that 1400 rupee per share mark. That's HDFC Bank in trade for you. SBI as well. It's one of the biggest drags on the index this afternoon. And then Kotak as well, which is sitting on the sidelines. Flat for Reliance too. That's also not seeing much of a move really. At 29.78 is where that stock is right now. But Deven, since you track Reliance closely, where do you think the next set of triggers would come in? Because now the momentum seems to be in favor of the stock price move at least.
So I think the areas where the unlocking of the value is expected to happen will be two matured businesses. One is Geo Platform and second is Reliance Retail. There, the first level of unlocking in the values could happen, wherein these companies could separately get listed and get traded. Geo Financials has already become a separate company out of Reliance's fold, and I think it has created a value proposition for investors. The renewables, which is getting into commercial act somewhere in this particular calendar year 24 or financial year 24-25, I guess I think would be next in queue as far as the unlocking of the values are concerned. And each and every space in which they operate, including the media space where they operate, probably I think they are forming a larger size, which is now suggesting that the growth is going to be more sustainable and with a larger amount of size that we are talking about. So overall, I think Reliance per se in each and every vertical remains, I think, absolutely strong as far as I think their growth rate is concerned, their business is concerned, and adoption of the new environment and the technology is concerned in each of the verticals.
And Kunal, what's your view on Bector's Food? That's seeing quite a bit of slip at the moment, and Tata Motors, on the other hand, is making fresh highs for the day.
Yeah, so Vector Foods, I think, is a stock which is going through now a correction. The last 1 month, if I'm not wrong, the stock had fallen from 1200 to sub 1000 levels. From 1000, the stock had bounced back towards 1100, 1120 mark. I think that was the high the stock had made on an intraday basis today or maybe yesterday. And from there, it's now back sub the 1100 mark for itself, which means that potentially the bounce for the stock in the near term is now behind, and you may see the stock getting into a bit of a corrective phase. So I think the 50 DMA now remains to be a key trigger point for the stock price for Bector Foods. If the stock happens to break past about the 50 DMA, which is at 1120 mark, then we may see some sort of revival coming back into the stock. But unless it fails to break over and cross above those levels, I would expect the correction to continue for the stock over the near term. Tata Motors is something which I've been bullish on. In fact, had recommended this with a target of 980. Would still be bullish on the stock. In fact, on the hourly charts for Tata Motors, it's formed a classic bullish pennant formation. It's almost a 40-50 pointer formation for Tata Motors, and the breakout was closer to this 950 mark. So I'm expecting the stock to come back towards 985, 990 at least over the near term, which is maybe over the next couple of days. You might see at least another 25 to 30 pointer up move for Tata Motors.
Okay, point taken. So Tata Motors is something to watch out for. Naresh, what's the view on metals? That stock is like that space is actually coming under pressure. And there's a dichotomy. The steel stocks are doing okay. So a JSW Steel, a Tata Steel is okay. But Hindustan Copper, Nalco, Vedanta, they're all under pressure.
Yeah, so we are seeing diverging moves across the space, but even in the names which are doing relatively better, the momentum is not catching up. So Tata Steel continues to be at 140, 145. You have Jindal Steel continuing to be between 760 to 800. So overall, we are not seeing a sharp move on either side on in terms of momentum. So the correction is also not very deep in the Nalcos and the sales of the world. So overall, time to be more stock specific as such. And wait for some more time on the metal pack. The momentum did not continue. So if we crosses, say, 148, 150 on Tata Steel, then maybe we'll start looking at it 800 above Jindal Steel.
Okay, that's the take coming in on some of the metals pack, which for sure is seeing a fair amount of pressure in today's trading session. Deven, before we let you go, let's have a few buy or sell calls from you, some top ideas.
Well, I think we remain relatively more watchful at this point of time because somehow that we believe that I think the market has run up, I think, significantly in the recent times. So selectively, the approach continues to be into the space where we are finding ourselves comfortable, which is auto and auto ancillary currently. We believe that I think this is one area where probably you are likely to see a major amount of growth going forward, particularly in auto ancillary. So that is one space we continue to remain bullish on. The other areas where probably I think we remain bullish is about the travel and tourism segment, where again the growth opportunity factor I think remains absolutely more and strong. The financial space in which I think some of the NBFC companies, including some of the banks, and they are relatively, I think, more comfortably placed at this point of time because market is possibly, I think, chasing some of the other growth momentum stocks, whereas I think these companies with a strong fundamental strength inside are available at a valuation which is relatively becoming more attractive now. So we try and play the market today by buying the stocks which has a long-term potential but available at a corrected valuation. So that is our approach currently.